Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So over the past about a week and a half, 2 weeks, we've had a ton of tournaments, a ton of in-person tournaments, online tournaments, from all the different Digifests from all over the world to worlds to other big, large-scale tournaments. So I wanted just to kind of gather up all the decks I possibly could of all the different first-place decks and throw them at you, and let's take a real look at what the end of this meta is, like the best of the best of the best. I'm not talking top 16, top 8. No, I'm talking first. Only first in massive, large-scale events, as well as worlds also. Also, don't forget our new memory marker this month is Doraemon, so if you're playing some X-Antibody or going to be playing it in the future as more and more support rolls out, this is a great memory marker for that. This is handmade out of clay by my wife, hand-painted as well. If you want to get that, that's on our Etsy store, and the link is in the description below, as well as you can find all of our previous memory markers we've had on the channel there, and some of our Battle Ready Ink merch. All right, and here we go. First up, we've got London. This is Digimon Card Fest London for the UK. We got Christmas Hybrid, red-green hybrid here, coming in taken first. I'm really proud of this, honestly. Just because I think it's one of those decks that gets underrated a lot. Like, people have expectations of it that it's, pretty solid. It can go really fast when you least expect it. But then it just kind of, it's always petered out. It gets about halfway through a tournament and then just kind of bricks. I don't know why it's such a bricky deck, but it's just how it kind of comes out to be. It doesn't have as much search powered cards as some of the other hybrid decks do, or some of the stall aspects that some of the other yellow and blue specifically can, they can survive until they draw into their pieces. Whereas this, it's you need to get your pieces ASAP, as soon as possible, but so you can pop off. So for this deck to finally done that, I'm really awesome. One of the things I like seeing here is the 4 Guilmon, just for that, when attacking, draw 1. So you get the Evo, right? So on top of a baby, you get to draw 1, and then when you promote and swing, you get to draw another one. Also, you get, a security check out of it. So, tons and tons of value there. And if it survives, because this is a tamer heavy, option heavy format, if he survives, the value of him just, exponentially goes up. Either the opponent has to waste resources clearing him off the field, either attacking over him instead of attacking security, or stunning him, heaven forbid, whatever the case may be. If not, then he gets to attack again on the following turn, drawing again off of his effect, already great, and then also another security check. Yeah, Guilmon, anytime he survives a swing, just the value of him just goes through the roof in the deck. And then some of the other stuff is, I think, a lot of, pretty simple stuff here. 4 of the hybrids here, and 4 of, the level 5. 1 Troymon, I think, is interesting. Simply, Troymon's kind of an awkward card. He's definitely a utility piece. Against hybrid decks, though, they can just Evo into a hybrid swing. His effect doesn't have anything to target, and then they can just Evo another tamer and swing. So hybrid decks can kind of dodge him a little bit, but if they ever go wide and they slam down that Troymon, instant value for sure. The Boko's Mons are really good in this, in combination with the JP. JP reducing the level 4 Evo cost down, and then the Bokomon gaining. So anytime you Digivolve one of your level 4s on top of JP, you just +1 as long as Bokomon's on the field. So that's really good. I mean, that's been the selling point for me. This whole deck, literally the selling point is the JP Bokomon interaction. It's just absolutely insane. Being able to run Atomic Inferno, getting all those extra security checks off, and an Atomic Blaster for a little bit of clearing, I think is really cool. Thunder Laser, has its uses for sure. So yeah, it's really cool to see this deck did so well, and red only having the Gaussmon to block reduction, doesn't have a memory blocker, so red in a really awkward spot, but still managing to in some form or fashion make it onto this list. This is the only capacity that red unfortunately makes it onto this list. The next deck though was yellow hybrid, not yellow purple, but pure yellow hybrid. Sort of. Okay, it wasn't running the babies. It was running Kari, purple Kari, with a couple of the purple options. So the purple options were still in there, but the base was still yellow. So even the babies and the rookies and things like that. So it was running I've got it up here. They never did a full picture that I could find. But if you want to watch it, the video is in Italian. But right here, this guy has it on his channel where they go through every single card. But here's a look at the megas. It was just a real diverse spread. Couple shines. We see the Kazuchimon for that recovery, that clutch recovery. A Dynasmon for when you just need to stall out for some longer games. And then a War Greymon for going really aggro, getting those double swings in with the Rise Greymon, giving it security attack +1. Very nasty combo for sure. So that's pretty cool. Some other things I was looking through there, some wild stuff. So it was running Cutiemon for the reduction blocker, Salamon for some recovery. Holy Flame was in here as well. So one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus or security attack -3. That's pretty wild. And then nice security effect of all your opponent's Digimon gain security attack -1. So nice, really good, powerful card to get hit in security. So really, really spicy on that one. As well as it was running 3 Lightning Paw for clearing out, a whole bunch of threats. Also, they had 2 Fly Bullets in there, which is really an interesting choice. Instead of going with the Wyvern's Breath, the Fly Bullet, definitely an interesting choice. Particularly interesting because it doesn't hit the Susanomon, but it can hit a lot of other things that are actually pretty good. So like against the Shine, when Shine goes up to a really high DP, or Jesmon, Fly Bullet can still handle those, whereas the Wyverns actually does fall off against those matchups in particular. The next one was the Miami Digifest, which was taken by Blue Hybrid. We've seen a ton of Blue Hybrid deck profiles. Unfortunately, they don't have it up yet. This is the channel, the winner here, said they were going to post it, but we can see how many unfortunate, deck profiles they do. It's very few and far between, so maybe they'll post it. If you're really interested in seeing another Blue Hybrid deck profile, hopefully just keep an eye out on this channel. Hopefully we'll see it soon. I do just want to throw this one in there also. This was the PPG regional qualifier that there was. 128 players showed up to this. This was the one that, for you familiar with the channel, I got 3rd place in. Got beat out by this deck here in top 4, and this was Humans... Lilith Loop, this Lilith Loop rush deck. Very, very super aggro. Look at this crazy rookie count here. Only 8 rookies in total. The few Gazimons and stuff, only 2 Gazimons to deal with, like blue matchups. Really, really wild, but so fast, so aggro. Really, really powerful deck for sure, but it's very much you have to win extremely fast because you'll literally deck yourself out probably before your opponent has a chance to kill you, which is a pretty wild concept for a deck. The next few deck profiles I've got for you, the Eggman actually was able to grab some of these deck lists here. So if you want to find the links to the top 16 of these decks that I'm about to show you, you can go check out his channel as well. So thank you to him for posting that link for everybody. But the first one here, this is going to be for Canada's Digifest. The winning deck was Yellow Purple Hybrid. So proud. Just because a lot of people have been really hating on this deck here lately. It got a bad name for itself for a while, and then all of a sudden it was just turned into being called a trash deck. And I don't know. It's the deck that I played through most of these tournaments, and I did extremely well with it. So I don't think it's trash at all, but definitely a really cool deck for sure. A lot of the standard stuff you're seeing here. We've got a couple Shine. We've got the Dynus. The Kazuchimon. I know some people are really big on the Kazuchimon. I personally like Seraphimon a little bit better, just because he's a little more, I don't know, just safe. I guess you're always in a really safe position. My issue with Kazuchi is if I'm at 2 security, I could go into Seraphi for 3 Evo and still get up to 3 security, right? So whereas Kazuchi has to pay 5 memory to get that same recovery 1. If I'm at less than 2, if I'm at 1, if I don't have a level 5 on field already, I have to evo up into a level 5 first and then go into my recovery. But if my level 5 happens to be a Jet Sylphie, I recover up to 2 anyway. And again, I would rather have a Seraphi in hand. So really, the only time I really felt like Kazuchi gets really good value is if you already have a level 5 on field and you're at 1 security, or you're at 0 security, and then your Kazuchi is going to be really good in that instance. But if you're ever at 3 or more, then 100% Seraphi is just the better call, because you get the recovery and you still get the security attack. So yeah, I personally like Seraphi better, but that's again personal preference. Wasn't running any Wyvern's Breath. Wow. That's a surprise. I'm running 2, but ultimately, honestly, more and more, Susanomon kind of just takes care of that. If you really need to remove a big threat off field, you can just go into Susanomon and remove it. Whether that Susanomon goes on top of one of your level 6s, or you're going on top of a tamer into Susanomon. Either way, he kind of handles that. So I could definitely see that. And then use those 2 extra spots to run some tactical retreat. Essentially, it's just a 1-cost recovery, right? You get to place something on field into security. Someone made the comment, if you put like a Jet Sylphie in there for 1 and then slam down a TK and pull it out of security, that's like almost like recycling a Jet Sylphie. So I think that's actually pretty clever. 1 cost. And then the security effect is just recovery 1. So it's like Holy Wave, but just way better. So yeah, really cool choice to go with the tactical retreat there. And then went with an extra regular TK, which again, in a more shine focused build, the 2-cost TK makes a lot more sense, as well as an extra duo tamer, an extra regular TK. So really bumps up their tamer numbers here. So pretty standard for the most part, with just a few little tweaks that are pretty cool. Next up was Digifest Arlington. This was the one I was at, so if you were there and said hi, I appreciate it. It's one of my favorite builds, honestly. So it's a Azulong focused one. I've been harping on it. I think Azulong blue is like my favorite way to go. And like even months and months ago, whenever I first made that Azulong deck profile, and everyone downvoted, I got tons of downvotes on that deck profile, and people saying that Azulong was bad and that you should just go with the Magna Garurumon. But now we see Azulong just like getting first in all these events, and I feel really really complete now that that's how the tables have turned. Their rookie count kind of interests me though. So just the 4 Strabimon that adds any hybrid and any tamer, I really like that. Absolutely a must, but then cuts it off. No other Strabis. Doesn't have the gain 1 memory Strabi, as well as doesn't have the other Searcher Strabi. I've cut the other Searcher Strabi out of mine as well, because it only picks up Koji. And if you're not running Koji, it's not that good. You're only picking up, a couple hybrids out of your whole deck. And so you miss out on way too much with that one. So I've cut that one also. I do still run a couple of the memory ones though. I think they're kind of an interesting choice to Evo on top of, but did make up for it by just maxing out on the memory blocker and the Evo reduction blocker as well. So 4 of each of those. So an solid choice to replace them with. Only 2 Bokos instead of the 4. I thought that was a bit of a surprise. So it doesn't have as much like draw power in this deck as a lot of other times we're used to seeing. And then has the 2 of the mats here. These are the 2 play cost mats. So kind of like a pseudo duo tamer. I've actually been starting to think about trying to use those as well. You don't get the duo tamer like strip sources trick, but you do gain the memory, and it's just it's like, kind of think about it as a 2 play cost rookie. You just play him out there and then you can Evo your hybrid right on top of him. So that's still a pretty good choice there, especially like if you have a memory fixer on field, 2 Evo and then a 2 Evo into, your rookie or into your hybrid, sorry. Pretty solid choice, I think. And then Forbidden Trident. We saw this a whole lot in Gabubons, and haven't really seen it too much in this format. I thought it was really another really interesting. One of your Digimon gains when attacking, return one of your opponent's level 3 Digimon to its owner's hands, and then trash all the sources. At first I was like, well, what are you going to return? Like in most instances, it's going to be a Bokomon, right? You don't want them to gain that memory off the Bokomon, but then they get a search with their Bokomon again. Like, that's kind of sucks. But another thing that you could do is bounce a memory blocker. I mean, when you're playing blue specifically, bouncing a memory blocker can actually come in super clutch. So I really like that. That's same with the running the one of Kendo Garurumon for basically that same concept of you're just kind of get those stupid memory blockers off the field so you can start using, your Howling Memory Boost, your Hammer Sparks, and your Ice Walls in security, gain all this extra advantage. So pretty awesome. Their side deck, the Mimi was actually pretty spicy. Honestly, look at all those options they have in the main deck. A couple Mimi, pretty cool. The jamming Beowulfmon that also can't be swung into. I saw some people trying this one out so far. It looks like they were just trying out the one of, though. Didn't want to go too heavy on it. Aqua Viper, I've seen a little bit more of this being teched into some decks. Return one of your opponent's Digimon to its owner's hand. return one of your Digimon to its owner's hands to return up to 2 of your opponent's level 4 or lower to their hands. So that's kind of interesting. You could bounce 2 hybrids with this, and then their tamers go to the trash. So, I mean, that's pretty good value right there, because bringing out a hybrid again is kind of tricky in a lot of these decks. The 1 Hexablaumon, just to drop your Azulongmon down. I don't really know what you want to when you side this in. I've been thinking about it also, because if you're stunning those decks like blue, if you go against the blue one, right, you're going to stun those and they can't swing. But at the same time, a Zulongmon, you could just bring the Zulongmon out and then swing for a whole bunch of security checks. So I don't know. Hexablaumon feels awkward. An extra Howling Memory boost. I guess if you're going against like maybe a Jesmon player or something that goes into a really high Evo stack, some Howling Memory boosts are pretty good. 2 Rattlestars is pretty awesome. And then just the 1 Susanomon. I'm curious to see what they wanted to run the Susanomon against. Like, what matchup specifically for when you're running blue hybrid do you want to side in a Susanomon? I'm guessing something pretty grindy, so maybe against like yellow-purple, that those games really, really stretch on and on and on. So, 1, getting that deck recovery, getting 10 cards back in deck, as well as getting a 3 security beater on field is a pretty solid card too. So that was Arlington's deck. This one was pretty crazy. This was South America's Digifest. What an interesting build. So this is the Purple Rush, right? The Musketeers or BL Star control Rush. I did a deck profile super similar to this one. If you want to check that out as well. This one does have some different stuff though. So running the Nailbones, if you're running promotes, yeah, Nailbone is really good with the promotes, I think. And then even threw in a couple of Vilemon just to have some blockers just in case. It is a very aggro deck. So getting those, sometimes you do need a blocker, especially if you can't clear it. So BL Starmon is really good about clearing the field of a whole bunch of different threats. But if you can't, if it's all tamers, and you can't clear those tamers, then being able to just slam down a couple blockers could be a good way to deter the opponent as well. So pretty interesting. Had a couple of the 2 play cost mats in here also. Yeah, and then the side deck was kind of a whole bunch of interesting things as well. Running the Zwarts instead of the defeats. I like the defeats personally. Being able to pop a tamer is really powerful, especially like a Davis. Memory fixers are really like a nuisance, so clearing those off. Had the 1 of Ice Wall. Yeah, I mean, a 1 of Ice Wall is crazy. I mean, we still see it like do tremendous things. So having like the 2 mat to be able to play it, or having it hit in security is pretty powerful also. And then 2 Kikaida's Breath just to deal with whatever, where if your Fly Bullet can't handle it, like I was talking about earlier, Fly Bullet doesn't touch Susanomon. Sometimes you really need a way to clear a Susanomon. I mean, technically a Kikaida's Breath will do it, because you bounce a Susanoo once, there's almost no chance they're going to go into it a second time. Unless it's like, again, purple, yellow-purple, and those decks just go on and on and on. Yeah, they could definitely go into Susanoo twice. But against most matchups, especially a deck this fast, I don't think you'll ever see it a second time. So yeah, pretty interesting stuff here. Congrats to them for sure, going, breaking the mold and going undefeated in South America with this deck. That's really awesome. And then the last deck, of course, we got to talk about it. This was the world champion deck right here of the English format. Remember, the Japanese and the English, the formats for Worlds is separate. It's just how it is. So just kind of based on what we saw earlier, some interesting things. So we see the Strabimons again. We see the blockers, both of the memory and the reduction Evo blockers here, just at 3 ofs. And then they use those 1 slot each to put in the Strabimon. This is the Searcher Strabimon I was talking about. The one that I've been testing cutting, simply because you can't add any of your other tamers. You can only add hybrids off of this search because there's no Koji in the deck. So I guess if you just really, really need a hybrid and you don't really care about tamers, he's not a bad choice to play. And then we got our standard hybrid package here. No Kendo Garurumon, I should point out. So really just kind of going very dependent on these 8 here and then this 4, and then only one Azulong. So I think if you're only running one Azulong, then evoing into like your Beowulfs and things like that isn't quite as necessary. So maybe a reduced amount is warranted a little bit. 4 Bokomon, yeah, I'm hard set on the 4 Bokomon. I know the other profile we saw only had the 2 Bokomon, but World Champion has 4, so I'm gonna stick with 4 for sure. And then we see 4 Davis. Wow, this is I think the first time I've seen 4 Davis. Usually 3 Davis, 3 memory block or 3 memory fixers is pretty standard. So seeing 4 is pretty wild. But I've definitely been there where I was like, I don't mind playing another Davis. I've got one on field. I can play this Davis and get a search, and then I can evo my other Davis and swing with that other one. So yeah, 4 Davis, I could see it. 4 of the Sora and Joe, I'm a big fan. I know some people aren't. Some people think this card is pretty dead a lot of times. I've had tremendous luck with it. I think a lot of people forget about the suspended effect to trash sources on your opponent's stuff. I think that's, especially if you got Tommy's swinging in, you activate them, trash sources, and then Tommy triggers to stun whatever you just pulled the sources off of. I think it's really, really good combos. 4 Tommy is a must. And then just 1 of the mat. Instead of doing 2 mat and then 3 of the Sora and Joe, they just went with the 1 mat. I think it's interesting seeing more like 13 tamers. A lot of what we're seeing here lately has been 11. So you got 4 Tommy, 4 Sora and Joe, and 3 Davis, and for 11. But I've seen a lot of these winning deck profiles running 13 tamers, whether you're running 2 mats and 3 Sora and Joe or vice versa like they are. 3 of the Howling, 1 more than we've seen a lot of decks, but we've seen those other ones. They at least had it in the side, the 3rd in the side. I think that's probably the right play. I've been testing out 4. And while I have gotten use out of it, I've gotten some stuns and things like that. More often than not, it's almost felt unnecessary a lot of times. I'm almost just playing it just to play it when it's not really needed. And then, of course, the 1 of Ice Wall. And then 4 Hammer Sparks. I know some people have been cutting the Hammer Spark down to 3. I can't. 4 Hammer Spark, whether you're hitting that bad boy in security or I'm just getting to play it and then do some crazy big turns, I'm here for it. So then our final tally comes out to be, we got 1 of the red-green hybrids. We've got 1 of the pure yellow hybrid, but then also a yellow-purple hybrid. Those decks are kind of the similar, very, very similar. So it's almost like you could say 2 yellow hybrids there. Then we've got 3 blue hybrids, and then 1 of the purple rush decks, and then 1 Lilith Loop deck. So 2 purple, they play very similar. It's about running as much purple level 4s as possible. So all in all, I'd say it's a pretty diverse meta. 3 of the 8 were blue hybrid, but honestly, that's not that bad. That's less than half, just 1 more than a quarter. So all in all, pretty diverse. A lot of 2-ofs here and there. So I'm pretty happy with this meta. We've had much worse during Lord Nightmon days. That was terrible. Even BT6 meta was worse than this. This is, a lot of people give it a lot of grief, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is. I like it. Honestly, I'm very, very, in a good place with this meta. I've been playing since 1.0, and honestly, this is really, really good.